Again. Hello everybody again. Because of recording, we already checked in and reviewed something, and we are really happy to have another virtual hackathon. So first of all, let's see, is there any update in IoT? Means Lily and Reza. Please, if you have any update, please let us know.
Ryzen, are you there? Do you want to update or do you want me? Okay, I don't know if Ryzen's here. Go ahead, Ryzen.
Yes, hello everybody. There is no an extra update from the last meeting, but I'm just discovering the IOTA project, which is the IoT project, distributed IoT project during the last week. But I'm just reading about it and see what the difference is and something like that. And I'm planning to start coding, and so I don't have any updates right now except what I present the last week. That's thank you.
Lily?
Yeah, so I don't really have much following what we discussed. I think part of that is scope, I think. And I am actually working to, based on what we discussed, just documenting a list of things that we probably want to drill down further and maybe see what makes sense to put within Holochain and what maybe needs to go outside Holochain, and yeah, just for further deeper dive in the IoT space.
That is great. So we should go to the next, or is there anything else you would like to update?
Nothing right now.
Thank you. And if you need me to join for the meeting, just please let me know and we can go for the meeting. Rezan and Lily both, please ping me, and you know where. So, Josh, identity. Is there any update? Is there any topic?
I think I kind of covered it all in the first one that we did, but updates wise, I guess I've had a couple of chats with various people. Jakob, obviously, Matthew Shooty. Who else have I talked to? We did some work on designing some stuff, but really I need to crack into user stories, which I've been meaning to get to for ages. It's just holding me back. So that's pretty much where I want to go. If anybody wants to work on identity and help write user stories, I'm going to be doing some of those in question, situation, answer format, or hair logic, business behavior-driven development kind of style to make sure it's considered in a robust way. But that always takes quite a while. So the more hands, the happier.
Thank you, Josh. About the identity, my aim to open the discussion here because I have something in my mind. Let's see how much time we are gonna have, and then we are going to a little bit just finger the identity again. So is there anything, Gian, please?
Yeah, I think, yeah, we can call it an update here. So Thomas here, me, Rafi, and also Jacob just joined, are discussing about some mutual credit use cases for us to start, for me to develop the infrastructure and for them to have an already working application. So this is an idea, the use case we're trying to figure it out. This is an idea that the guys at Liminal, so Roberto here, Josh and Thomas, we're discussing about. So it's more like the use case, it's more their idea. But I think it's good if we are doing some stuff like as an open community in Holochain, we can all discuss it and think about things. Just to let you know that's happening.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey guys, can you easily see there are some spaces? If you love some spaces you would like to join, please feel free. It is the topic that we are going. It is opening the space for you. IoT, identity, mutual credit, we already have Leap, teaching, there are a bunch of spaces. Any space you feel like it is close to your personality, feel free to select, and it is totally obvious with whom you are supposed to contact. And also, if you have a little bit something, feel free to contact me. Do not hesitate to contact me. So,
Hidayat, can I offer one more potential area?
please.
Great, yeah. The space where we're, I think, mostly focusing is the circular economy. So that kind of incorporates lots of these pieces. So that's, a lot of that's been going on at the Australia Hackalong, and we've been using our group called Basin, which is using biodigesters. So mostly it's like food-based circular economies, but you know, it's circular economy and in general. And the basic concept I would say is an urban metabolism. So how does an urban area take, you know, energy, food, resources in, and then what do they do with them? Is it just waste in the end, or do they do something with it? So that's
thank you, Kamal. Kiki, I don't see your video. I think your seat. Is there any relation between your project and Kamal? Would you like to jump in, Kiki?
Hi, sorry. Yeah, so I've been talking to the REA team and the value flows team, and we're planning on finding the relations and how the networks between Basin and Shiro and SeedShare could kind of interrelate and interconnect. Currently, still kind of trying to work out the whole like architecture of SeedShare, but I did some flow modeling with the value flows team on the resource events and agents and how the overall flow of and the protocol would work in terms of saving and swapping seeds. And the only thing really that we're doing is we're letting users exchange seeds. So like one of them would involve peer-to-peer verifying. So like verifying cryptographically, like the entries of seeds, so the actual like resources that they're accounting. So that would, I guess, be kind of like a resource specification for REA in REA terms. And we're just kind of working out the ontology of seeds. So we're figuring out how to kind of classify them and identify them. So so we're figuring out how to like identify URIs. So we've been having a bit of a discussion on that, and that's still quite open at the moment for people to like join and discuss. So
thank you, Kiki. Kiki, are you ready to bring up your project, for example, for the next hackalong? You need still more time. No pressure, feel free.
I can bring it up and explain it. I think I did talk to someone, Joe, that has been working on the minimum viable product, because we're not really developers, we're more kind of like designers. So we wanted to first validate whether the idea would work, but we believe it would because we did test it out on a few people, and we're currently building the prototype on Wix, which is like very limited, and we really want to actually create like a web app from this, but a very simple prototype. yeah, using Holochain. So potentially using React, but I've heard a lot of other advices of using other front end frameworks. So yeah, I could discuss it with everyone and introduce the idea and see how you guys feel about it and how it makes sense, I guess.
I just wanted to add also, so the prototype that we are building, that we built, is in React, and it's actually really flexible, where we could easily test. We're just testing. We actually, I think a few weeks ago, we actually plugged in our prototype with Possibly's help using GraphQL, HoloREA, and plugged it into Holochain and got a confirmation, a cryptographic confirmation. So that actually worked. And so now we're going to the next phase. It's still just a prototype. It is in React because it's actually really easy for us to create a React prototype and literally spit out code from this free program called React Studio. So Kiki, if you want, we could collaborate. If you guys are designers as well, I'm a designer as well, I'm not a coder, but I spit out a bunch of code. So we could, from a prototype standpoint, use React just to test our ideas.
That would be great.
But I agree, there's other thoughts about Vue and Svelte and things like that, so yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
So Kiki, next week, one Windows goes to you to bring up your project and keep us updated.
Oh, next week, okay.
Okay, one window next week goes to Kiki to help, support, try to see how we can support you, Kiki.
That's great.
I wish you the best for the whole project. We will hear you more next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure Guillaume is gonna talk to you about something about the Holoport. And do you remember Guillaume and Tats had a question with the Joel that about something about the Holoport, and I think they have a nice answer for you, and they can repeat the question and and can share with you the answer from core. Guillaume and Tats, please.
Tats, you wanna go?
Sure, I can try. But yeah, and then you can add whatever I miss, because I probably miss a lot. But yeah, so the question that was brought up last Hackalong, I think, which I think stopped because it was a big question, was that if you guys remember in the Hackalong with Yoel, we asked the question about the uptime of Holoport and the uptime of Holoport and the question about basically the general uptime of the Holoport. Because if you guys remember, Yoel said that there will be 5 copies of the source chain per user sitting in Holoport. And then I also asked the question of can we expect the Holoport to be online at all times, given that there will be 5 hosts hosting the 5 source chains. But Yoel answered us that we shouldn't expect the Holoport to have an uptime of 100%. And so Guillaume asked this question to the core team again, and we got some feedback. And basically, the answer is we shouldn't expect the Holoport to have an uptime of 100%. But in terms of the 5 copies of the source chain per user, I mistakenly thought that was the resiliency factor of the Holochain in terms of having the data online at all times, like available at all times. But it's actually not about the resiliency factor, and more about having actual 5 copies of source chains that is maintained to be at the same state among the 5 hosts that hold that same source chain. And this is different from resilience factor, and it's more of a small consensus among these 5 hosts. So basically, for example, if I as a user wants to write to my source chain, I would ask, obviously I would request the host, the Holoport, to write something to my source chain. And what happens is that the host would ask 2 others from the 5, so he's one, so there's 4 others who have the same source chain, right? So this host would ask 2 others to do the same operation on the source chain so that they can gain consensus, they can gain majority about that operation. And then once they get enough consensus, which is 3 out of 5, the operation will be the operation will happen. So this is separate from the issue of uptime, which I am not confident enough to explain. So I will pass it to Guillaume now. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that was great. I don't want to go too deep into it because it actually doesn't impact so much Holochain app development, but just to give you the 5 cents. So Holohost requires Holoports to have a 90% uptime to even join the network. So if your Holoport is on and off continuously, you're not going to be able to join the Holo network. So given that, and given that 5 copies of your source chain will be stored on, so 5 devices will be storing your copies. If you do the math, that's like 99.99999% read uptime. And why is that? Because even if one Holo goes down, there is other 4 Holo hosts ready to host your chain. It's different in write time. In write time, it's like 98 due to the consensus. But anyway, we should expect that kind of an uptime. But we can there is a possibility of an application for a user to go offline after all the Holoports can have gone offline or whatever. So if we are writing the application relying only on that, we should be very careful. And I would encourage people to write applications working around that. So what happens if the node is offline? So I'm preparing for that. So here's the code that handles that. That's the basic gist, I think.
Yeah.
Anybody? Go ahead, Tat.
Just want to add, so yeah, from my personal experience, I think this will be very useful in terms of when you think about implementing send and receive in Holochain, because send and receive expects the 2 agents to be online for it to work. And if the agent who's gonna receive the send of the other agent is offline, then there will be a timeout. So that's the case of, well, in Holo, that's the case of the Holoports not being online, right? So in that sense, what we do is we have to always expect that case and handle the timeout properly, so that even if the send fails, there's a fallback operation that would not, totally crash the system. Yeah.
Any question, guys, about this topic? Jean?
So in the Holo, then it looks like the other agents are always online. They don't have to be logged in. It looks like 99.9% of the time that they're online because one of those 5 at least is running. So the agent, it doesn't actually need a user to be logged in to be online, right? So you just send message, all of that would be happening. The user themselves doesn't have to be logged in. I'm just verifying that that's the truth.
Yes.
And another quick question: this Holo network, all the agents that are on Holo, are they? Am I right to understand that they're actually connected also to all the agents that aren't on Holo? Or are those two complete distinct networks?
I didn't catch that. Could you repeat the question?
If I log into Holo and I'm an agent there through Holo, and then I log in from my desktop with a conductor that's running on my desktop, are we connected to the same Holo? I mean, to the same network? Are those agents, can they talk to each other?
Yeah, those are two different agents connected to the same network, and absolutely they will connect to each other.
How would they do that? Would this still be done through some standard network discovery that Holochain is doing, or is there some kind of bridge between Holo network and Holochain conductor network?
Actually, it's the same. It's the same. Like if we think about Holochain vanilla without any Holo hosting, it's the same. So it's just that the conductor that is running an application does not belong to the agent. It actually belongs to the Holo port. That's the only difference. But the bootstrapping, the agent discovery, everything is the same.
I see. Thank you. Other thing I wanted to add, going back to the question that Tats had. So all this means that basically in Holochain environment, we have to implement kind of more responsible front ends that are prepared to handle some caching timeouts and such. So yeah.
Yes, and be careful if you do a lot of, I don't know, a lot of send receives to a lot of agents. Don't expect that they are going to be there at all times. And there is another downside here, which is that in Holochain, the peer discovery to send a message is much slower than in other systems. So if you have work with IPFS, maybe you have seen this, what happens? So I want to send a message to this address, 123. Okay, I don't know what IP address is connected with the address 123. So I have to begin asking the people about the address. If the address exists, it's like with 2-3 hops, it's very likely that I'm going to hit it. But if the node is offline, then I'm going to be bumping around asking nodes, and it will actually return a timeout, but it won't be as fast, like not even close. It will be somewhat slow in that sense. IPFS has the same problem in which if the entry you're looking for doesn't exist, it actually endlessly loops around and tries to find it, because you don't know where it is, right? I don't know what mechanisms Holochain will add on top to mitigate this, but like adding sensible timeouts on the Holochain backend as well seems very important.
Yeah, that's, I just want to add something to that, because that was what I started thinking when we were talking about IoT earlier, where we have this sort of a cross DNA agent that we talk about having the devices send the direct message to, then that bridge the data into the data DNA. Now, what if the agent is somehow not connectable, whether it's down or something else, and we have to, I guess it can sort of be in a general pattern, right? When we start doing this, having some kind of pattern, we have to rely on some, maybe having some bridging proxies, and you might not want to have one, you might want to have a pool of them. So how do you coordinate that pool? You know, you don't want everybody to be ping-ponging, you know, like these multiple proxies or, you know, the bridges, right?
Right, in this sense, like I think you're spot on. In the case of small networks, that changes a little bit because you mainly will know everyone. So if there are only 10 nodes in the network, you will know those 10 nodes, and you will have the list of the peers. You will know everyone. But that problem still exists. What if the receiver is offline. You have to handle that. Yeah.
Tats, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, just wanted to verify. So, write and send, you can set your own timeout. I think the default was 60, but you can. So that means if there are a lot of people in the network, setting the timeout lower would potentially create a risk of returning timeout, even if the node uh, the timeout basically wouldn't necessarily mean that the agent didn't find the other node, but it could also mean that while he was finding the timeout, like already, well, it timed out, so it can return that as well, right? So that's a case. Okay.
Yes.
Right, so
Yes.
Means timeout has a different meaning. I couldn't find. It is too late.
Yes.
So
But right now,
me.
it only gives you back timed out, so you don't really know if the node didn't find it, the agent was offline, or he just couldn't find it during the time. Yeah, I guess that would be helpful if the Holochain would let you know that as well.
Yes, but Holochain has this weird thinking, which like if you think about partitions and you are in one partition trying to find the other device, does the device exist on your, like, at all yet? Yes, it exists, but you can't find them. So it, like, there are some weird edge cases in which it's very difficult to differentiate whether, for example, a node is offline or the entry actually doesn't exist. Like, and you have to take that into account in your mental model, in your assumptions first.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Holoport question. Anything remained? So that's it. Next round and next step goes to, would you like 5-minute breakout, get rest, or we should continue? Oh, Astasia immediately reacted, 5 minutes.
I can go on a break myself.
No, I also can go. 5-minute breaks, raise hand, please. Okay, I'm gonna put a timer for 5 minutes. Guillaume, you can also pause, yeah? Can we pause a record or it should? Okay, after 5-minute break, we are gonna continue the topic of capability token. Really brief for the people who forgot. Capability token means I have something I want to share with you. I'm not going to put my content inside DHT or a public. I put my content inside my source chain, inside some private topic. I would put a lock on it, and I would create a pair key as a capability. I would give part of it to you, and I would take another part to me. If you want to come and read my private content, you need to bring your part. And then these two parts are gonna make a decision to open the lock for you that you can read a content or not. The whole process means capability token. Why two parts? One for you, one for me, because I can control it, because I can put a timeout on it. I can revoke it, I can expire it, I can cancel it, and vice versa. The whole scenario, you're calling it capability tokens. I'm granting something to you, you come to my source chain and read it. So capability tokens work when you put something in your private zone, not in the DHT. So we couldn't cover all question, we couldn't cover all topic, but from the foundation, fundamental topic definition, do you have any question, or we should go directly to DM that Dylan continue?
Could could you just say, is the protection, is my understanding the protection is protecting a function, not necessarily data, right? So whatever function, the function could actually be accessing TH2 data. It could do, a function could do anything.
When the data inside the DHT, actually it doesn't need private actually. So yes, it is the function, but I put the data or content inside my source chain or some place as a private. I wrap it with a function, and I just ask you to come to that function with your token actually. You are right, we can put this content anyway, but if the content is going to be inside the DHT is public between the community members or the members of the DNA. So, but all in all, the whole concept, you are true. It means the content has a gateway, and you need to come to the gateway with your key or capability token. Should we continue? Thank you. Ian, please.
Actually, there is, like, from a conceptual point of view, there is just one slight, one other mechanism that we need to cover. And then maybe what we could do is, apart from all the questions that can come up, think about how to use capabilities tokens in some example design. Maybe that would be best, because actually from the theoretical point of view, there is not so many things. Okay, so here was what we left off from last week. So this is an example, just to remember a little bit. We have Alice's conductor, we have Bob's conductor, we have two DNAs, one subscription DNA that doesn't have any content, but just handles the subscription payment or whatever, maybe it bridges to mutual credit or to REA stuff. And then Alice, who is the content creator, has installed a private block DNA that Bob doesn't have. So how can Bob subscribe and get the content from Alice? With a capability token, Alice can let Bob call the get private post content function that does a bridge call to the block DNA. So this is the example we were playing with, right? So now, so this, the basic mechanism is we have a capability token grant here, we have a capability token claim here. Okay, with the actual token. All capability entries are private, and that's important. So the headers are shared, but the entries never leave the source chain of everyone, because if I had your capability claim in the DHT, I could use it, and that's not cool. So, okay, new stuff I'm adding on top of it. So in the current version of Holochain, I don't think this is enabled, but on Holochain RSM, this will be the default. And I think it's important to know, because with the design, when designing the applications, it's important to know about this mechanism. So let's say that Carol comes in. So there is a new agent here. So this is Carol. Okay, and let's say that here she installs the same subscription DNA. This capability token claim has this 4.5. It's like a password. So it's like, okay, I have a private token that lets me call the function. This token in Holochain RSM, we will be able to share it with other people. So without Alice doing anything, Bob can share the capability token claim with Carol. So it's like, think about it as an invite code or as a password or something like that. Bob can just send the capability token claim to Carol, and then Carol will be able to call the same function. So because this is like a password. If I tell you the password to my email, you can enter the email as well. With a caveat, which is in this capability token grant, you are filtering which agents you want to be able to call the function. In this way, you can say, no, I want only you to be able to call my function. So Alice grants capability with this password, but only to Bob. Or you can say, no, any agent who has the password can call this function on my source chain, sorry, on my node. And this is an important distinction because things like invite codes or invite links to Zoom calls, Discord, whatever. Also, there's a million possibilities we could think about when using this. So yeah, I want to pause there. Is there any question about this mechanism?
Yes. Yes. So let's say if the token grant said, okay, I would let Bob call my function, and also anyone, anyone that has this token claim call my function. And later on, let's say Carol gets a copy of that and call Alice. Alice can always revoke it, change her mind anytime, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Alice is in control. As last time, Alice is always in control of the capability token grant. So grant revocation works just as with everything else.
And Alice can not only revoke the grant, and she can also change it in such a way that previously it was working for any agent with the password, and now it works only for certain agents, right?
That's a great question. I don't know that.
Okay.
I think you cannot update capabilities token grant because it would be weird, because then everyone who has the claim, like some are going to get through, some are going to not get through. So I'm assuming not, but I don't know. So this is a great question to ask to the RSM team. Thanks.
Cool.
From my understanding, so this is not Holochain capabilities I'm talking about, but it's my understanding on capabilities that have come from Xerox back in the 70s and been around the Web of Trust stuff for the last 50 years. But my belief is you can amplify or attenuate capabilities, which means that you can restrict the amount of access you give somebody. I could give you access to my social graph. You might give Jim access to my social graph. And then I might go, oh shit, he's being irresponsible with my capabilities, and then attenuate the tokens I've given you. That may not be Holochain, but that's how it's been thought about in the past.
Right, yeah. So this makes total sense, but in Holochain, as you have all the hashing and updating entry, hassle, and so on, I don't know if that would be updating the grant or revoking and creating another one. That's what we need to figure out.
Yeah, no clue.
Any other comment? Okay, then just another piece of conceptual thing, which is capabilities were kind of introduced or not really integrated from the get-go into Holochain Redux, but they are integrated from the get-go and built in a current manner in Holochain RSM. So in this sense, capabilities are the unified way in which you will be able to call conductor functions, not only from node to node, so send receive, but also from the UI and also from external sources or whatever. Capabilities is going to be the unified security model of Holochain. Because if you think about it, right now, Holochain Redux doesn't have any security from the UI standpoint. if you do HC public. Like, okay, let me pause there because I think this is important to fully grasp capabilities. You know how we develop applications. Let's see, okay, for example, this one, profile zone, and hopefully everyone knows about this one. So this profile zone contains some function calls. This HC public is saying which capability the caller has to have in order to call this function. And HC public means everyone can call it. So actually, Holochain right now has a bit of a security hole in that if you can access the machine in which Holochain is running, you can call everything that's tagged with HC public. And that was a bit of a, I don't know, I would say the name is unfortunate. It would be more like associated with unrestricted. I think in Holochain RSM, they are going to call this unrestricted. But yeah, we need to be careful in the future in order to take these functions and migrate to RSM. When that's going to happen, I think we will need to update this with proper capability handling. And because right now, from the UI standpoint, the UI in Holochain doesn't share any kind of token, doesn't share any kind of information. So if you can access the Holochain node, any UI can call your node. If you don't have the security properly set up on your machine, or the node is running on a public server or anything like that. So yeah, any questions on that?
I have a question. How it should work without the security hole? So you're saying that currently there is a problem and anyone can access any HT public function. How would it be if there wasn't a security hole?
Right. So like HT public is going to be renamed to unrestricted. So if you want, you can say anyone can call this. You could, like, I don't know, a public server with without concerns for security, for likes or votes or whatever, could declare functions unrestricted, but it's going to be much less encouraged, right? And I think that what they're going to do is when you boot up the UI, either with Holochain or Holo with Chaperone and so on, you're going to do a handshake with a conductor and you're going to receive the token. I think it will be actually the capability token to actually call the functions. I don't know exactly what form this will take, but I imagine like only me or something like that to be the default thing that we are going to use.
So instead of anyone who has access to the machine being able to call these functions, there would be only a restricted set of some kind of UIs or some other agents who have some kind of access token that allows them to actually perform the calls, even though there are other agents who have access to the machine, but they do not have these tokens, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? And then I'll make my final point. Okay, final point it is. So capabilities right now is kind of it's not very good to work with, because the normal way in which you do capabilities here, I think I can show you this pretty quickly. So in the remote bridge code source, I think this is it. Yeah, exactly. So here, right now, this is what we have to do in order to make a capability remote call, right? I'm going to make this bigger, sorry. So in the receive function, we are taking who is calling and the message, and then for example, in this example, the bridge request itself contains the capability token that the sender sent us. So we are receiving the message through a send receive, filtering whether this is a message to bridge, and then calling HDK call, which is the bridge call with the capability token that we have received. Doing this for every zone. So this is kind of not ideal because you have to write the same boilerplate over and over again, and it's not very elegant. So in Holochain RSM, what you will be able to do is directly do a remote call. So there will be no more send and receive callbacks. You will be able to do a remote call on another node, passing the capabilities directly. And this would do this process automatically. So receiving the message, what function do you want to call? This one. Okay, what is your capability? This one. No, you can call it. Okay. Or yes, you can call it. And now execute the call directly. And this will save us a lot of time, I think. Any questions around that?
And that's a synchronous call, is that right? The remote procedure call?
That's a synchronous call. Synchronous, not asynchronous.
It's a synchronous call. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I wanted to clarify what would change in how we are calling the function. So instead of forming the message and making this bridge request, we would be sending some kind of object directly without this need for bridge call.
Yeah, this is still in development, but what I imagine is instead of the HDK send, something like HDK remote call to this node, this function, this capability.
I see.
Okay. Much more lightweight in a sense.
So we don't have to unpack the request as you shown below.
Yeah, exactly. And this serialization and deserialization of JSON string is going to be handled for us inside the HDK. Yeah, because oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. Any other thing around this? Okay, so then I'll stop sharing. Do you
Yes.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I have a question, Bilyamon. So generally, capability token about the security, we have two topics in general: authentication and authorization. Authentication, it means you can come, I know you. Authorization is how much I can give you. Capability token, it is right now authentication. It means the lock is going to be open for you. What about authorization? It means you are admin user, you are, for example, I'm mapping. You are a guest user, admin user, silver user, gold user, something like that. So the things you showed about the public totally make sense. So how do you have any topic about explaining authorization and authentication based on the capability token?
I think that like I'm a little worried about, like, I don't want to say this is going to be like this in this area because I don't know. But I think what you're talking about is declaring the different capabilities functions associated with a with a capability token. So, okay, let me share again. Here, instead of HC public, I could do silver user or admin. And whoever has the silver user capability token can call all the functions with that silver user tag.
Josh, I have a question. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so capability tokens having a lot of parallels with badges. So if you have a certain badge, you can call a certain capability, perhaps. It's just food for thought.
Yes, you could kind of think about it like this, but it's like the capabilities token introduce a password element that maybe vanilla badges don't. I don't know, but yeah, okay.
So yeah, the difference between the vanilla badge and capability token is that token could be tied to a particular agent. You can say that Alice with token 123 is allowed to make calls into my source chain, and Bob with the same token is not.
Yeah, things like that. Like, and there are some other non-similarities. So yeah, it depends. Badges would be more like an up level thing. That this is a very, very low level primitive.
Actually, would it help if we look at what information are stored in capability tokens?
Sure.
That'd be cool.
Yes, but just keep in mind that this will change, because as I said, the capabilities thing is done much better in RSM. Okay, so let's see. I want this track. Oh, fields omitted. Oh. Okay, so we have the token itself, the ID. The ID, I think, is this HC public. In the case, we all write HC public, but we really shouldn't. So if we put here silver user, this is the ID. And the grantor is who has given us permission, because this is a capability token claim. This is what the claim has. In the new version, this will change to also have this. I don't know if this will change actually. I'm sorry. I don't know if there is any new fields here. In the case of the grant, let's see. Yeah, we have the ID, which is what we already spoke about. The token itself, the capability type. I don't know what's a capability type actually. The assignees and functions. So who can call this with the who can come to me with a capability claim and match this grant, and what functions do I let him call? Oh yeah, sorry. The capability type is, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So right now in Holochain we have different types of capabilities, but this is going to change in RSM. They are all going to be transferable. Public and assigned, it's like, okay, this cannot be transferred or whatever, but you're going to handle this with the assignees vector. So
what does
go.
What does transferable mean in terms of capability?
Yeah, I can transfer the password, like the actual capability token, to you, and you can call Hedayat, for example.
You mean that you can give me a capability token for your source chain, and then you can share it with Hedayat, and then he would allow me to call his source chain?
Yeah. So it's this case we discuss here. So Alice granted Bob, but then Bob also shared the same token claim with Carol. So the transfer, this is the transfer of the claim. And then Carol, if Alice says so, Carol can also call.
Okay, thank you.
Some other questions around this?
Actually, can I just want to touch, looking at the capability token and touch back on what Hedayat brought up before, authentication and authorization, right? So in terms of authentication, my notion of authentication is more about like kind of proving whom you are, authenticating yourself. So is that an authentication component within the capability token itself, or is it primary authorization that you're granting? If you're presenting a, let's say a token that's granted to you, your address is in one of those assignees, you probably have to sign something, right? You probably have to sign with your private key to authenticate yourself. I am one of these assignees, but that signature is outside the token grant. And within that token, it's kind of describing what you are able to call. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, I think you have both things in the capabilities case, but authentication you have all the time in Holochain. So all messages between peers are always signed. Even gossip, even whatever is always signed, because otherwise it would be quite easy for an attacker to infiltrate themselves and start misdirecting people. So everything in Holochain is signed, and in this case, if I'm sending you a message, hey, I want to call this capability, this function with this capability, this message is also signed with my private key. So first okay, you are who you are, okay, authenticated. Can you call this call? This would be authorization. Yes, you can. Okay, go.
Okay, thank you.
Any other topics, questions?
Maybe we should move to the example that you've been talking about.
Yeah, like, does anyone have some cool use case that, or Hidayat, like, I don't know if anyone is very tired and wants to stop now, or we should do the example one.
Exactly. It was the point I would like to mention, that it is the good time. We had the talk for 30 minutes, checking, review, 1 hour and almost, I think, 45 minutes to content. We can a little bit postpone the content. Up to you guys. What do you think? It is enough for today. Let's go for the next week, or you would like to continue? My personal opinion would like to say we can end up right now, but up to you.
Well, I haven't looked at the time when I suggested example, and now I have looked. So yeah, I agree with Hidayat.
Yeah.
Amen. I'd really like to keep going with capabilities, but we can like pace ourselves and savor the topic for next week, perhaps.
Yeah, and actually capabilities is one of those things that it's not really, it's so core that having this primitive available to us will at any time, okay, when we are discussing about a new design, okay, let's do this with capabilities. So it's like, it's very I think it will be very recurrent. And for example, if Kiki explained her project next week, I'm certain that we are going to touch on that. Okay, so let's postpone maybe, Hidayat.
Up to people. Would you like checking? Guys know checking? Eric Bear checking? Do you know how it's working? Turn on all video, please turn on video. Roberto, Thomas, Greg, Razan maybe. Go, Thomas, Greg, Thomas, are you there? It is the Greg, it's Eric checking. Do it this one. Do it this one, please. This one, ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Coming down. 1, 2, 3. You need to unmute it. Again, unmute, and with the microphone. Again, do it. Go for energy. Okay.
Let's
That's
do it.
checking. From 5 and then go back.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now! That's it. Great. It was the ending.
That's
Fantastic.
coordination for us, like real good
Yeah.
the sound.
Yes.
That's
From
eventually
my,
for you, actually.
from my side, guys, I love you. I keep going to breathe with you here. I totally feel alive. If anybody would like to say something, otherwise, Guillaume, would you like to finish?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely awesome. Ooh, okay, sorry.
Thank you guys for bringing all the content. Oh, sorry, Guillermo, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Go. If you want to finish, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that it's really nice to keep these things going, and that we started these calls in the spring and it's middle of the summer and we are still gathering together. So it's fantastic. And with all the quarantine, we can connect with other people. So it's really nice. Love being here.
And that's your ending for you. That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I love you guys. See you next week and bye-bye.
Bye.